now. The man on your screen is a victim of the knife attack yesterday at the Ohio State University campus. This is an engineering professor, William Clark, who has just been released. Let's listen.
As I was walking, I suddenly heard a shout and then this tremendous crash. And it was a silver car, the perpetrator's car, that had mounted the curb and hit a large, well, you saw them probably, one of those large concrete planters on the curb, bounced off. And that did enough damage to stop the car. And as it was stopping, I assumed, because I didn't really see it, as it was stopping, it clipped in the back of my right leg and basically flipped me up in the air, and I landed on, which at my age is not what you want to do. And so I was there and a little bit dazed and figuring how to get up. And meanwhile, the perpetrator had exited the vehicle on the other side, the road side, which was his driver's side, and had begun to attack the students. And there was a lot of noise and a lot of shouting. However, I got up and with a number of students and some others, started to make progress towards the building, to get in the building and hide. And even as I was doing that, before I could get to the back end of the building, which was only probably 20 yards away, I heard the 3 shots that presumably were the ones that Officer Ushko fired that took down the assailant. That was it. I went down into the basement of the building, which of course I know very well. Okay, which I know very well, and sat there, and one of the students with me said, "Oh, you're bleeding," and I said, "Yeah, well, I got a little blood." No, he said, "No," and there were footprints of blood all the way down the hall. So at that point, they called one of the emergency, I think it was in the fire department, emergency technicians. They came down, and they were fortunately already on the scene, and I was taken from there and transported to OSU Medical Center, where I was extremely well looked after. So I've just been discharged this afternoon. So, and that's why I have yellow socks on and walking a little slowly. So, what I usually do. No, I never heard the assailant say anything. First of all, my injuries, I say I've got had 2 deep lacerations down here just above the right ankle towards the back. Those were closed in the operating theater in the trauma center. And I also have some severe contusions down the left-hand side of the left leg, which they were concerned might possibly be a fracture in the tibia or fibia. And because of the amount of swelling, they couldn't really determine and see the fracture until sometime today. So they unfortunately determined there is no fracture there, but it's sort of swollen and bruising. So I am extremely apart from the leg trauma, obviously you don't do all these rib muscles and everything else much good when you get shot up into the air like that. So actually more inconvenient is I'm really sore and stiff in the ribs and back. When the car hit me, I didn't really know what to think. I thought, well, maybe this is an accident. But then there were people started shouting, and I couldn't hear what they said, but it was like, you know, panic shouting. So obviously, at that point, I figured out it was more than just a car accident. Yeah. I think that I'm not entirely sure. I think the 2 cuts in the leg were actually from, I think the vehicle hit the planter, which basically destroyed much of the front end. And my impression is that it left a lot of open, jagged metalwork there, and it was that sliced the back of my leg. And they're 2 parallel cuts, about 4 or 5 inches long. Yeah. I wasn't, you know, it happened so fast. I turned to go back in the building. All of a sudden, this bang and this car's there, and I get flipped in the air, and it all happens so fast. I mean, say literally, at least it seemed to me. Maybe the time frame was a little compressed, but it seemed to me literally within 15 to 30 seconds, I heard the shots, and it was over. And I didn't look around. I saw, I think, one other student who was hit by the car. and flipped up in the air. He was lying on the ground, and but I didn't see any of the people stabbed because they were off to my side. Well, I think, you know, at this stage, until we really know all the facts, I prefer to hold judgment. You know, he was an OSU student. He was from, yes, he was from Somalia, but he's an OSU student. And having been a faculty member for 35 years, I'm only too aware of the things that drive students sometimes to do things that they wouldn't ordinarily do. And so, you know, before I pass judgment on this young man, I would like to see exactly what the circumstances are and exactly why he took the course of action that he chose.
You're looking at engineering professor of Ohio State University, William Clark, remarkably calm after having been hit by the car of the attacker yesterday on the OSU campus.